Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly, and welcome to this video in which we've put together a list of what might just be the best 18 holes in golf. Now, to help us create this list, I contacted somebody called Simon Holt. And Simon took the list of top 100 golf courses in the world, created by Golf Magazine in 2013, and he set about playing every single one of those golf courses. He's now completed that journey, he's played all of them, so I felt like he was a good person to speak to about what might make up the best 18 holes in golf from holes taken from all over the world. Now guys, we are not saying for a second this is a definitive list of the best 18 in golf, more like this is a conversation starter, so please do leave some comments in the comment section below. Do you have any nominations for holes that perhaps we've overlooked in this video? We'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But let's head over now, meet Simon and find out what his list of the best 18 holes in golf looks like. Okay, Simon, so thank you very much for joining us. Before we get going, can you just, so that everyone watching this or listening to it can get an idea of your background, why it is that I've contacted you as somebody that might know a thing or two about the best 18 holes in golf?
As of last year, May last year, I completed the World Top 100 golf courses. I think I was the 45th person worldwide and the first person from the UK to play one of the World Top 100 lists by one of the US publications.
And it's an incredible achievement. I mean, you've travelled far and wide to do it, haven't you?
Yeah, there's certainly an incredible amount of travel, like lots of fun. I'm not expecting anyone to feel sorry for me, but a huge amount of travel and some crazy, I wouldn't bore you with right now because we're going to talk about some great golf holes, but some really interesting legs and chasing all over America for the most part, but then also trips out to Asia and sort of flying to Korea for a couple of days, then Japan for a few days, flying down to Australia for one day and flying from there to South Africa for one day, then home to the UK. So that's another conversation all in itself, but it was wonderful fun. And it was, I finished in Montfontaine, just outside Paris, which is a wonderful place to finish. And two of my best golfing friends joined me, and that was a lovely way to finish. It was really good fun.
Yeah, and I should probably say at this point that you did a podcast with the No Laying Up guys. That for those listening to this, watching this, is well worth listening to because you go into all of that stuff in detail. You talk about your favourite golf courses. You talk about those experiences that you've just been to, you just mentioned here. But in this video, we want to look at You've put together basically a card of your favourite 18 holes, right?
Yes.
And as you said to me earlier, you could have just put the back nine at Augusta in, but you haven't done that. And you know, we're not saying in any way this is kind of definitively the best 18 holes in golf, but it's a sort of conversation starter, isn't it?
Definitely. What I tried to do when you kindly messaged me last week was that I tried to set myself a couple of rules. So it's almost like my best eclectic world 18. I used whichever hole I used had to be that number of hole from that course. And once I used the course once, I couldn't use that again. And so my opening hole is the first hole at Machrihanish. And I'm not the first or the last to say that as one of the greatest first holes in golf. And I think the name is I think it's called Battery, which is quite an apt description of the teeing ground. So it's wonderful, wonderful teeing ground. It's about 420 and it almost cut off as much as you dare across the bay. And I'm not sure what body of water, what would it be? Either the Irish Sea or the Atlantic to the left. And you've got this wonderful drive where you try to cut off and you'll run through the fairway if you don't try and chew a bit of the dog leg off. You're out on kind of this raised pedestal almost of a tee. And it's just a wonderful start to any round of golf.
Okay, so from the west coast of Scotland, we're now heading over to the US and the National Golf Links of America.
Yes. So the second hole, again, it's a tough one because there's lots of great holes at National. National Golf Links America is at Butts Shinnecock.
Yes.
Most people have heard of Shinnecock and most real hardcore golf course enthusiasts will have heard of National. And they had the Walker Cup there in 2013. But the course was laid out by Charles Blair McDonald, C.B. McDonald, that was a good St. Andrews graduate like you and I, Neil. And this was his sort of doff of the cap to the Sahara hole. So you hit, it's only about 290, so it's very drivable because of the shape of the hole. So you hit over a blind ridge, which is sort of scattered with bunkers, and you've got the famous windmill to the left, which is actually a water tower that masquerades as a windmill to the left. And that's very much in your mind that you don't want to hook one and hit some of the blades of the windmill. But if you do get over the top, you hit a down slope and it runs out onto this huge putting surface.
And then from there, just a short hop over to New Zealand.
Yeah, well,
one of the most incredible looking golf courses. I mean, I've only you've been lucky enough to play it. I've only seen photographs, but the photographs I've seen just look unreal.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those quiet nights in during lockdown to flick through the Taraiti website. So Taraiti is the golf course, and it's a relative newcomer, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's one of these courses that I played, had to have a cold shower afterwards and really think about what I wanted to say before we got too carried away. And then I was like, no, this is definitely one of the best courses in the world. So I actually rank it in my top 3 courses anywhere. I really think of it that highly. And the third hole at Taraiti is just this lovely 440 yard par 4. And like it's a Tom Doak design who I'm a big fan of. And like lots of his courses, it's the common theme is big, wide, firm, fast fairways. So you need to really hug the right-hand side here, but there's a big sandy waste area with native vegetation. But if you stay on the fairway, you don't quite have a look at the green. It's a fantastic punch bowl green buried down this big sort of Rumpelstiltskin fairway. Whereas if you pull your drive slightly to the left, you're left with a sort of do or die shot, and your caddy will run up to the top of the hill and you hit over this huge dune. Just think like the 4th hole at Royal St George's for any UK golfers that have played there. That sort of height of dune off the tee is almost like the second shot into Taraiti, and this beautiful punch bowl green. And what's great is you can sort of chase a shot around the right-hand side and it'll run or funnel down. And there's lots of sideboards and backboards to work your shot off. But it's just a wonderful hole, a great green, and the whole time you've got this incredible backdrop of the South Pacific. It's very, very special.
And so from there, go back to Scotland.
Yeah,
just north of Aberdeen, Cruden Bay.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the fourth hole at Cruden Bay is my 4th hole. And again, you've started off at Cruden Bay. The 3rd hole is wonderful and quirky, short drivable par 4, and then you step onto this tee and you're greeted with this gorgeous view down to the left, quite a significant drop down to harbour with sort of fishing boats, a small inlet. And then you've got this 195 yard shot of a significant crater in the dune system, if you like, to a green over there. It's a real do or die shot, and long is better than short, absolutely. And there's a bit of a backstop to bring you back. But it's a start of such a wonderful run at Cruden Bay. And I wanted to make sure that, Scotland and the UK had good representation here, but I really do feel that belongs.
So from there, over to Australia. And I've not played any golf in Australia. And I did know about one of the other Australian golf courses you've chosen, but not so much about New South Wales, even though they've had big tournaments there, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. It really took my breath away, this golf course. Again, it's by the water, and I'm not always blinded by views, but on this occasion, they're hard to beat. And on the tee, you stand there and you've got maybe about a 270 carry, which is not in my locker, to get to a downslope that leaves you quite a short shot into this par 5. It's only about 520 in total, but for most mortals, you'll maybe get just to the edge of the drop off down the fairway, and you've got this incredible view, almost like a carpet laid out in front of you, right down to the water and this rocky outcrop, and you've just got the whole Southern Ocean out there in front of you. Sort of next stop Antarctica. But that's another one to Google. New South Wales, and the 5th hole in particular is very special.
Then next one is the 6th at Royal Melbourne, and Royal Melbourne hosted President's Cup, doesn't it?
Yes.
And towards the end of last year.
It's an Alistair Mackenzie layout, if you like, and it's just a wonderful. Again, it's one of my world top 3, along with Taraiti and a Scottish course we'll get to later. And he used Mackenzie laid the course out around a couple of prominent dune ridges. So the 4's a par 5, then you have a par 3 as the 5th, and the 6th plays off the dune, dog's legs left to right, heavily bunkered on the inside of the corner. And this green just sits perfectly back into another dune around the corner. And the greens there are super fast, perfect, as you will have seen on the television. The edging of the bunkers is absolutely incredible. It just looks like someone's taken a razor down all of the bunkers that cut into the greens. You've never seen better maintained bunkers than in the Melbourne Sandbelt.
Next one, one of the, I guess the hardest ones to get onto. Is that fair to say, Pine Valley?
Yeah, there's a side story to this one around the Walker Cup. Marion, I'll make it very, very short. I basically bumped into someone at a bar at Marion at the Walker Cup in the clubhouse, which is as good a spot as any to find someone to get onto the next place. And his brother does the true work at Pine Valley, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, not very much." And he goes, "Would you like to join my brother and I?" He gets one four ball every month at Pine Valley on a Monday, and no one else will be on the course because it's basically the maintenance day. And I just said, "Next question, I'm in." The seventh hole, which I've chose, is famous for Hell's Half Acre. So, I mean, this is a 460-yard beast off the very back. I'm guessing we didn't play it from there, but a good drive. And then you're faced with this sort of uphill carry over the Hell's Half Acre, which in golf course architecture circles is as famous as the Road Hole Bunker or Hell Bunker at St Andrews. And your second shot is a long shot, sort of a hybrid long iron to clear Hell's Half Acre. And then you have, a short iron into a green that's still surrounded by sand. But, tough doesn't always make great, quite the opposite I usually find. But in this case, it's a great hole.
This would be one of the toughest holes on the course?
oh yeah. This is a real toughie, and this is one of the courses where I could have had a handful of holes easily.
Yeah, and actually, you have gone for quite a brutal finish to the front nine, because I'm just looking at 8 and 9. Talk through. I mean, 8 is one of the most photographed, iconic holes in the world, isn't it? People know this one. Talk about it for us.
Yeah, so hopping from sort of the Philadelphia area over to California and Pebble Beach. So again, there's the great secret, and I'll say it, is there's a few holes at Pebble that I don't really care for, but this is one I think would stand on any golf course in the world. The 8th at Pebble, you're down at the lowest, well, not maybe the lowest, but the most isolated part of the course. You play the famous drop shot par 3 7th, and you're stood there, and you can't really hear or see anything else other than the sound of the waves and the birds and things. And so you hit what for me was a hybrid that day up on top. I think I was left with as much as a 4-iron in my hand to this tiny green. And it's, there's so many holes that you dream of playing, and it might be your only chance. And that's the only time I've played Pebble. And to pull off a shot, which fortunately I did that time. I didn't play very well that day, but it was one of the few good shots I hit, was the shot that I wanted to hit. And it somehow ended up on the green and an outside chance for birdie, which I didn't make. But it's such a tough shot to tiny greens at Pebble as well. But in terms of iconic holes, it's right up there at the top of the list as one of the most memorable I've played anywhere.
Well, the next course you've gone for is Royal County Down.
Yeah,
definitely one of the best golf courses in the world. Definitely one of the most, I guess, probably one of the hardest golf courses in the world as well.
Yeah.
And the
spires of the buildings in the town are the other things you can see, along with the Mourne Mountains behind. And just an incredible hole. And you hike up a hill to get over the ridge.
Yes.
So it takes your breath away because you're a wee bit tired. But then it just the ground falls away from you, and it's seemed like a good 150 feet below you, back to the level of the clubhouse. But if you're down the right, you're blocked out by a dune and the sort of lion's mouth bunker at the front of the green, really tough angle. So you really do need to be down the left half of the fairway. And then you've still got a tough second shot into sort of almost like an upturned saucer, like a turtle back, almost like a Pinehurst style green.
You've gone from one of the most well-known and iconic links golf courses in the UK to one of the most well-known and iconic inland golf courses in the UK, Sunningdale Old. Definitely one of the most beautiful places to play golf, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think it's your quintessential charming English sort of peatland golf hole, and you stand there in a slightly elevated tee. The ninth is the short drivable par 4, and you're there almost one of the highest parts of the property. It would seem like anyway. This great view, and you've got the banter coming up at the great halfway hut at Sunningdale with the sausage and whatnot.
Possibly the best halfway hut in the world. I mean, it's unconfirmed, but it's definitely a nomination.
It's top what I would call top 5, absolutely. But it's just a cracker of a par 4. It's a stunner, and you've obviously got the heather down either side, and from memory you've maybe got about 3 bunkers that are right in the driving zone. And then for your second shot, if you've navigated those for your second shot, it's quite deceptive. There's certainly one bunker on the left that's a lot shorter from the putting surface than it looks like at first glance.
So from Sunningdale back, you're going back to the Hamptons again.
Yeah, so back to Shinnecock, and I think lots of people will have possibly seen this hole on the television. So the 11's a par 3. It's only about 150 yards, so it's quite innocuous on the scorecard. But you stand there, and short to mid iron at most. I think I sort of played a 9-iron that day, but it's quite elevated. And I fortunately hit an okay shot. And it's one of these holes, I think once you've played it once, you're probably more scared of it the second time round. You stand on the 12th tee, having finished the hole, and you look at it, and it's almost like a tablecloth at the top of a volcano. It just drops off on every single side. That leads on very nicely to the 12th, actually. My 12th hole is Augusta. So back-to-back short par 3s. You stand there, and not only do you have the fear of failure of what should be quite an easy shot with a short iron in hand, but you have all the memories of seeing the television report back all these grand failures over the year as well. When you get down to the 12th hole, that's when I really feel you're in that moment of, I can't believe I'm finally here. It's very special, and it's a tough shot when you think this might be the only time I get to hit this shot.
Don't duff it. Yeah. So from there, the next golf course I know is one that's very close to your heart. It's where you've grown up playing your golf, and it's one of the great golf courses of the world. But this is definitely one of the great holes on the golf course, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually the 13th hole at North Berwick, and North Berwick West Links is my home course. It's where my parents still live in North Berwick to this day, and that's where I grew up playing my golf. I think you and I have played around there together, which was fun a long time ago now. I just think it's got, I'm slightly biased, but I just think it's got one of the world's truly great back nines, especially from a match play standpoint. There's just a little bit of everything. Each hole is different from one before or after. And the 13th is infamous because of a wall that lots of people say cuts in front of the green. It's almost asymmetric, that you play down a fairway, then over the wall that's sheltered one side by a dune and the beach, and then the wall. And looking back down the hole, you get a real appreciation. And the green's actually quite flat, but it's in that sense very, very hard to read. It's very subtle.
I always feel like with it, the 13th in North Berwick, it's a bit like the 17th at St Andrews, and that if you were to try and build that hole now, people might look at you and say, well, you tried to kind of, it's a bit, but because it's got this sort of history behind it, because it's been there for such a long time, and it's kind of, it just shows how the golf course has sort of emerged over time.
I think it would be a wonderful place to have something like the Walker Cup, just because the whole back nine especially is just a wonderful match play golf course. And for TV, it looked great, manageable size for the crowds. But just to see how the top amateurs in the world dealt with those holes, quite quirky holes along that back nine, would be wonderful to see.
It would be a great Walker Cup venue. I totally agree. And then, as I say, so on to from North Berwick to Royal Dornoch, another one that should be on everybody's bucket list. Fly to Inverness, drive a little bit further north. It's not that hard to get to, and it is well worth it, isn't it, when you get there?
Oh, Neil, absolutely. I implore everybody to get in your car and drive if you live in Scotland, or fly from London. There's regular flights from Inverness. And for me, the 14th hole, known as Foxy, it's a bunkerless par 4, and you hit your drive, sort of an angled drive, and if you run through the fairway, you've got big, lumpy, bumpy rough with sort of mini dunes almost. And if you keep down the left-hand side of the fairway, you have the best angle to the green. But the green on first inspection almost seems to be like 25 yards too far to the right. So you have to sort of sling this shot up over these, sort of small dunes, for want of a better expression, to this raised green that's almost maybe 10, 15 foot raised at the end of the fairway. And on a direct line, it's almost a vertical upslope. So it's a really hot, even though the surface is quite generous in size, it's a really tough one to hit in two. And it's just a great example of how simple, great golf course design can be.
On to the next course, and you're going to have to enlighten me on this one, because this was new to me.
I tried to keep the list as well, courses that most people will have heard of. And for the most part, it would have been the true list anyway. This one, I just think it's a cracking course, club, and hole. So it's called Ohupi Match Club. So this is one of my favorite bits of golf stash that's just in my bookshelf here in my office. But you can see it's built on an old onion farm, so it's a great logo. So it's an old onion farm, so it's sand-based, and it's about 90 minutes inland from Savannah, a couple of hours south of Georgia. Gilhan's design. It's called Ohupi Match Club. And it's this gorgeous sort of dogleg left to right par 4. You'll run out of fairway with too aggressive a drive. So you maybe hit hybrid or 3-wood. And then you're on a slight downslope hitting up with, about 150 yards to a green that's, again, surrounded by bunkers. And it's just, the green just hugs the ground perfectly. And it's a really wonderful golf hole.
So the next one would be one of the most photographed, I guess, golf holes in the world, isn't it? I mean, we're back on 17 Mile Drive, but not Pebble Beach this time.
Yeah, this will be an obvious one to most people. And even if golfers don't think they've seen this golf hole, they probably have. So it's 200, I think it's about 230. You have to just stand and deliver. And again, the pressure's there because it's probably the only time you're ever going to play this hole.
Presumably, you would usually play that hole with quite a stiff breeze as well, would you?
Yes, because you're right there in the Pacific, and it's quite often it's into the wind because the wind will be coming towards the coast. So it is a good old hit.
Okay, so we're going back to Scotland now, but you couldn't really leave this hole off any list of best 18 holes, could you?
No, again, it might be an obvious one, but it's an obvious one for a reason. So the 17th at St Andrews at the Old Course, the famous road hole, has to be there. And from the tee that we would normally play off about 470 yards, the pros have now, as most of us know, snuck the other side of the old railway line onto almost the back of the driving range to extend it to about 490, I think. But you hit over the old train sheds, the green part of the hotel. And if you're sort of lucky enough to hit the fairway, your trouble's only just begun because you've got this tough shot into a green. And then if you can somehow hit the green's actually tilted to a greater extent than a lot of people give it credit for. So once you're on the green, you do have some quite sort of swingy putts, sort of right to left if you're putting towards the medal tee for 18. So it's a tough green if you're lucky enough to get on it. And then, being at University at St Andrews and played since then, probably played it 150 times. And I don't think I've hit the green more than maybe 10 times, usually due to bad drives. It's really as tough as it says on the tin, but what a great golf hole.
It's the sort of hole that you really enjoy playing and you enjoy the challenge of when you're playing social golf. But when you're playing any sort of competition golf, or you've got a card in your hand, you've got a good score going, it's just suddenly just takes on a whole new level of difficulty, doesn't it? Because you just start second guessing yourself with every move you make. So off the tee, how far right are you going to go? Well, with a card in your hand, you start aiming well left, and that, as you say, that just brings in so many issues for your second shot.
And I think as well, and I sometimes talk about to friends, there's a handful of holes in the world that are that tough, and they just get in your head. 2 or 3 holes before you've got there, you're already thinking about it, and they're such tough holes, they actually affect your performance on the holes leading up to it.
And then your final hole, your 18th hole, you've gone for the 18th at Muirfield.
Yeah, so Muirfield is one of my world top 3, along with Tahiti and Royal Melbourne West. And again, there's a handful of holes that I could have picked from Muirfield. I just feel that the 18th for me, growing up watching the Open like all of us here in the UK, I just think it's just this picture perfect. 18th, the best 18th hole in championship golf, having been lucky enough to play all the Open venues, and I just think it's phenomenal. But to drive off, you've got these big bunkers down the left, you've got one bunker on the right if you bail out to avoid the bunkers on the left. Down in East Lothian at that stretch, the wind predominantly goes either west-east or east-west, so that's a crosswind shot for your approach to the green. If you've been lucky enough that your foursomes partner has put you in the fairway and you're hitting the second shot in, and there's these bunkers that are maybe about 20, 30 yards short of the green that you can fly over and chase onto the green that's multi-tiered. You've got quite a nasty bunker flanking it to the left, the sort of famous island bunker to the right of the green. And it's a pretty slippery green from back to front, which is just a wonderful hole and a great setting with it. The big old traditional clubhouse right behind the green there as well.
Well, are you happy with your 18?
I am. I think it's par 70. So I think the front nine's 37, back nine 33, par 70. It maybe doesn't flow perfectly as a golf course, but it'd definitely be fun to play.
Well said. Well, I think that seems like a good place to leave it. Simon, thank you very much.
My pleasure. It's great to catch up.
So there you have it. That's our video on the best 18 holes in golf. A pretty good 18 holes, I'm sure you'll agree. But as I said at the start, if you think we've missed anything, if you think Simon's overlooked any really great holes, please do leave some comments below. Let us know which holes you think we've missed out on and why they're so good. We'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. But that's all for now. One last thing to say is that if you haven't done so already, please do hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of our videos. Hit the like button if you've liked the video. But for now, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.